student takes initiative to learn materials outside of a particular course, such as online tutorials, study groups, or searching for resources in library or internet to achieve their own learning goals and objectives. So the main aim of this webinar is to explore the critical role of self-directed learning, okay, in empowering students to take ownership to their education, cultivate curiosity, and adapt to the evolving demands of the future. So without further delay, so Prof, is it okay for you to start?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so I pass to you to take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Prem. Let me share the screen first.
Yeah.
Okay, Prem, can you see the screen, yeah?
Yes, Prof. Yeah, very clear.
Thank you, Dr. Prem. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, selamat sejahtera to all my dear colleagues, sahabat from Unit 10, and also the viewers or listeners perhaps watching on our CAFEL Facebook group. CAFEL stands for Center for Advancements, Center for Academic Advancement and Flexible Learning, basically teaching learning center. So I'm very pleased this morning to share this topic. Thank you to CAFEL for the invitation, and I'm very delighted to share this topic, helping students to become self-directed learners. Maybe this title or this topic may not excite many people, but this is actually very, very crucial, very important for us, the academic, to understand. And this topic actually should be presented to both the academics, the lecturers or the educators, as well as the students. So I hope you can share, or you can let your students know, those who are free, to join the session this morning also. Or maybe I will have other opportunities also to present this or to share this topic to the students. Because educators as well as students need to understand the meaning of students, the meaning of self-directed learners, and the significance or the importance of understanding this concept or the principles of self-directed learners, the what of self-directed learners, the also self-regulated learners. These are two very closely related concepts. And how do we apply this understanding in the context of making student-centered learning more effective and more meaningful? I'm sure many of you have heard about student-centered learning. I hope you understand what's the meaning of student-centered learning. But in order for student-centered learning to take place effectively and meaningfully, the students or the learners first have to be self-directed learners and self-regulated learners. And also in the context of student engagement, we talk about learning engagement, cognitive engagement, and so on. For engagements to happen, students or learners must have the characteristics or the attributes of self-directed learners and self-regulated learners. So I will deliberate on these points as I go through this presentation. And as usual, I will share the link to this presentation. You will have access to everything, all the slides that I'm going to share at the end of this presentation, at the end of this session. So let me start off by sharing a personal story. Okay, this story happens about 43 years ago, around 1981. So Dr. Prem, where were you in 1981?
I haven't born, Prof. I born.
You're not born yet.
Yes.
1981 was when I was in matriculation, USM matriculation. At that time, matriculation was 2 years. So the first year was in the school. Second year was at the university. So this story was on my second year of matriculation in USM campus. A fresh student, just exposed to the university environment, but have yet to enroll in the degree program. So I attended an English class. The teacher was an Australian lady, Australian teacher. At that time, we had many expatriate lectures, international, foreign, international academics. They teach English, especially we have many English teachers from Australia and from outside Malaysia. Mathematics, engineering, physics. I had teachers from UK, Myanmar, Indonesia, and so on. So at that time, I was very keen to improve my spoken English, not so much of the writing part. So we had classes on the formal class on English, in English, in English subject, but I wanted to learn more. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to improve my English conversation, my oral, my spoken English. So I went to see Miss Wendy. This is, of course, just an illustration. So I spoke to her. I asked her a favor. I said, Miss Wendy, I want to improve my spoken English. I know English is really important. I want to learn more, but the formal class maybe will not help much because it's very formal. It's mainly on scientific English and so on. So I want to improve my spoken English. Can you help me? Or how can you help me? And to my surprise, and it was really a pleasant surprise, I would say, she offered to give me a so-called personal class or personal tuition. But English teachers are very busy, actually. Basically, language teachers are very busy because they have to cater for the whole university, right? I think that this is true for all universities. So she said, my timetable is very packed. So, but I can use my lunch time. Can you come to my room twice a week during lunchtime? So maybe you can take one or two friends with you. So that's what I did. I was so excited. I was very, very keen to learn more, to improve my spoken English. So I get, I think, 3 of us, so 2 of my friends joined me. And we went to her room during lunchtime, and all she did was actually get us to speak, to talk. So she asked about family, so she will come up with a topic for conversation. So it's kind of forced us to talk. And it was very informal, and I really enjoyed the session. But then after like a few weeks, my friend gave up, so it left with me alone. So I went to see her, twice a week during her lunchtime. But I was really impressed and really, I remembered her until now because she sacrificed her lunchtime just to help me to improve my English. So, what's the moral of the story? Can those who are listening now in Microsoft Teams as well as on Facebook, can you think about the characteristics of this type of student? In this case, is me. Can you describe? Can you think of 5 words, 5 keywords to describe this kind of students. Okay, so think of 5 keywords, and then I want to jump to this. Can you use your phone or your computer? You can scan the QR code, or you can use, you go to menti.com. I'm sure many of you are familiar already with menti.com, and that's the code. Okay, and maybe I can also copy the link. Copy the link here and put in the chat box. And Prem, can you help me also to put to copy this link? Where is the chat? Okay, this is the link to Mentimeter in the chat. And also you can go to menti.com. There's a code, or you can also use a QR code. So just think about the scenario, the story that I shared with you just now. Describe the behavior or the characteristics of this type of students who are, maybe one of the word I can think of, proactive. Okay, proactive. This student actually knows what he wants. He wants to improve his English. So he went to see the teacher and asked whether the teacher can help him or can help her. So 5 keywords, if you can come up with, you can, just come up with 3 keywords, but if you can think of 5 keywords, and these keywords basically will describe basically the gist or the essence of what self-directed learning and what are the characteristics of self-directed learners. Okay, already we can see now a few words: motivated, proactive, hardworking, always find opportunity, resourceful, full determination, objective person, intrinsically motivated. I like this. Intrinsically self-motivation. Where is the intrinsic? Intrinsically motivated. Yes, that's basically one of the key words that describe the characteristics of self-directed learner. Proactive, self-motivated, willing to try, curious, good time management, personal interest, goal-oriented, yes, resourceful, yes, self-learner, opportunist. What do you think, Prem? Opportunist. Opportunist. Okay, it can also have a different connotation as well. It's okay. Purposeful, willing to try, personal interest, persistent, full determination, fast learner, ambition, or maybe ambitious, maybe, yeah. Open to learning, willing to learn, will to learning, yeah. Will to learn, willing to learn. What else? Enthusiastic, open-minded, keen for knowledge, just do it, just do it mentality or mindset, yeah. What else? Always find opportunity, yes. Just do it, determine, find the solution. What else? Resourceful, work smart, think positive, self-learner, lifelong learner as well. Yeah, never give up, committed, persistent, purposeful, objective person. Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think these are very good, very good keywords that really almost all of this, 99% of this, or almost 100%, except I'm not very sure about the opportunist, because opportunist can also have a negative connotation as well. But most of this, ladies and gentlemen, my dear friends, my dear colleagues, this basically summarizes the essence, the antipathy, the gist of self-directed learner. Let's take a moment to reflect on ourselves, on yourself. When we were a student, I'm sure many of you here, because we are in the academic now, I'm sure many of you are good students. Some of you may be top students. Do you remember the time when, when you go through the classes and so on? If you as a student or any student, any learner with all these characteristics, then regardless of whether the teacher is really excellent, the teacher is just average, the teacher is a kind of what we would describe not really, not really outstanding. Some teachers are just doing enough. They don't go the extra length, go the extra mile. They're just doing enough. But for students who have these characteristics, regardless of the teacher, they can still learn.
Yes.
They can still learn because they are highly motivated. They are proactive. They are independent. Finally, I was waiting for this word. I see now the independent. Basically, they are independent. They, they don't depend on the teacher very much. When the teacher say, do this one thing, they will do 10. Submit next week, they will submit this week. They are always, they basically take charge of their own learning. They take the responsibility of their own learning. Basically, that's in a nutshell what self-directed learning and self-directed learner means. That's all. That's all. I think I can wrap up our session this morning because basically that's what self-directed learning is, and self-directed learners, the characteristics and the attributes of self-directed learners. But of course, by knowing this, and now reflect on the kind of students we have in our class now, you are teaching now, right? I'm sure, and I can say that in most classes, perhaps in the best scenario, you will have 50% of your students with these characteristics. 50% is actually really very good. If you have only 20% of your students having these characteristics, that probably is quite good. But imagine if you have 50%, 70%, 80% of your students having this kind of characteristics. Wow, it's going to be very easy. The class, you can handle the class very easy. You will enjoy your time with the students, because this kind of class, the class with majority of the student having this kind of characteristics will be happening. It's happening. It's going to be very vibrant, because anything that you do, any activities that you do in the class or outside the class, any assignment that you give them, any homework that you give them to do, they will perform beyond their best. You don't have to say, you don't have to, be to remind them all the time. They will submit their assignment in time, on time, well before the deadline, and they will always submit quality work. They don't just do things haphazardly. They will always deliver their best. These are the kind of students we would love to have. But the reality is, my dear colleagues, I would say that if you have 10-20% of students having this characteristic, you will be lucky. Most of the time, we will have, at least 50% or more, or only have some of these characteristics. So the rest of my presentation is basically, after we have described the characteristics, how are we going to help the student? That's the title of this sharing this morning. How are we going to help our students to have these characteristics? How do we design our course, our lesson plan, our learning activities, our assignment assessment in such a way that we will inculcate these characteristics, we will develop, we will nurture these characteristics throughout the time when we, the time with them during the 14 weeks of the semesters, during the 4 years when the students, spend time at the university. All right, so let's go back to the presentation just now. So that's the story. And I remember this teacher forever, till my last breath. Don't you want to be that kind of teacher or educator? I'm sure you want to be one, right? Okay, so these are the learning outcomes that I would hope during the, until 11, the time that I have. First, to gain insight into the concept of self-directed learning and its importance in education. So basically, the exercise is now, we covered learning outcome number one, the concept of the meaning of self-directed learners. But what I'm going to do shortly is to relate this concept to student-centered learning. Okay, because for student-centered learning to take place effectively, impactfully, we want the students to have the characteristics of self-directed learner. Number two, identify the characteristics and key skill required for self-directed learning. I think this is partially done as well from the activity. We know already those keywords, the characteristics and key skills to be or to describe oneself as self-directed learner. Then number three, this is where I will dwell more and spend more time, explore strategies. What we as the teacher, as the lecturer, as the educator, what can we do now to embed or to incorporate these elements into our course? Because we want to help them, to help our students now to develop the skill, develop the characteristics, integrate self-directed learning activities into your course. And last but not least, develop an action plan. So at the end, I will show you an example of how do we design our 12 weeks, 14 weeks, 12 to 14 weeks kind of one typical semester, right? Week by week. How do we design our lesson in such a way that every class, regardless whether we do it face-to-face or online or hybrid, ODL and whatnot, we embed that element into our lesson. Develop an action plan to implement self-directed learning practices in your classroom. Okay? Okay, along the way, if you have any questions, feel free to post in the chat. But Dr. Prem, please help me to monitor the chat in Facebook, also
Yes,
the chat. If there are any question, just interject, just read the questions to me, because I don't put the chat box so that I won't clutter my screen here. But I would also encourage the listener to unmute your microphone. You can interject anytime. You don't have to say sorry, because I like to have this interaction, questions, and so on, so that we can have a dialogue. All right, let's continue. Okay, this slide actually shows the 8 dimension of 8 dimensions of future-proof learning. What does it mean? What do I mean by future-proof learning? It means that in moving forward in the future, regardless of the unexpected event like COVID, pandemic, and so on, even AI, like what we have now, we always ready for any unexpected event coming our way in the future. Come what may, we will be ever ready. Students will be ever ready. Academics, educators will also be ever ready. Our ecosystem, academic ecosystem will also be ever ready. We don't want to be like what happened in the early days of COVID or pandemic or lockdown. Everyone was panicking and so on. So that's future-proof. Okay. And these are the so-called 8 dimension, learning-centric, self-directed, professional educators, and so on. But I want to focus today, this morning, on self-directed and self-regulated learners. So these 8 dimensions, some more for the educators, some more for the students, some for the administrators or the leaders. For example, to address the issue of devices and connectivity, the infrastructure, and so on. That's for our leaders to take care. Self-directed and self-regulated learners. This is applicable for educators. We need to know, we need to understand, and therefore design our course accordingly. And then for students also, we must find space or time to educate our students. We want them to become self-directed learners. They don't have they probably they don't have a clear idea what is self-directed learners. Although they are having these characteristics, but now we want to consciously teach our students, educate our students. These are the characteristics of self-directed learners. I want you to develop these characteristics, and I will help you to develop these characteristics. So let's work together. So in the word cloud just now, in our exercise, in our activity just now, I was looking for the keyword independent. Basically, self-directed learners, apart from those other things like proactive and so on, I would describe that self-directed learners are learners or students that is independent. They take charge of their own learning. They know what they want. They know what they are lacking. They know what are the weak areas. They always look at their they always do SWOT, personal SWOT, They always look at their strength. They know their strength. They know their weaknesses. And they always look and seek for opportunities. So this is kind of independent learners that we want to have. Imagine that when the students graduate, after they have been exposed to after they have been kind of built with all these self-directed learners characteristics. Every lecturers, every courses will embed this element, not one or two. That's why it's very important for as many educators as possible to listen this, because these are not taught anywhere. We need to find this through this kind of program, a session like this, so that now you are more aware, you are more conscious, and now we can take this knowledge now, and when we design our lesson, our class, our course, we try to put this into our course design, because we want learners to be more independent. It's not about us, less about us. It's more about them. Basically, this cartoon describe the very essence of student-centered learning, SCL, student-centered learning. Student-centered learning is about shifting the responsibility of learning to students. We want the students to take charge of their own learning. We want the students to take the responsibility. We want the students to take the ownership of their own learning. So once they take the ownership, it's like that, okay, this belongs to me. I take care, I take charge, and I know what I want to achieve at the end of the day, at the end of the semester. And we are just play the role to facilitate, to guide them, rather than being sage on the stage, but we become the guide on their side. Okay. So basically, let us define this in a more objective way. Self-directed learning is a crucial skill, vital skill, not only for students, for everyone, including us. Okay, that empowers, mengupayakan, we empower, we give the power to the students to take charge of their own educational journey. Let's try to register these keywords: take charge, empowers. That's basically describe the essence of self-directed learning, self-directed learners. So we tell the students now, I empower you to take charge of your own learning. Okay. It supports a successful student-centered learning environment. And this is where we relate self-directed learning and student-centered learning. And cultivating this ability means the self-directed learning ability, also promotes lifelong learning habits. This is what we want to achieve ultimately. It's not so much about the grades. Yes, of course, we will encourage them to get 4 flat. But more importantly, they don't forget about learning when they go out and work. We want them to really, when they go out, we want them to be independent. We want them to be agile. We want them to be flexible, adaptable, and so on. And they become the lifelong learning. They love learning. They love to read. They love to seek knowledge, new knowledge, and so on. Ultimately, our education, our academic program wants to produce graduates that are lifelong learners, helping students to adapt to an ever-changing world. Basically, another term to describe this, the buzzword that many people are using now, future-ready graduates, future-proof graduates. Because in the VUCA world, the world that is ever-changing, the world that is volatile, uncertain, ambiguous, complex. So we cannot educate the students to just focus on the specific skill set, because the skill set need to always changing according to the environment, according to what's the future would look like. Now, just we delve in more on the meaning of self-directed learning, a process. So we go through a process to nurture this characteristic. A process in which learners take responsibility in understanding their learning needs, establishing their learning goals, and implementing learning strategies and evaluation. So the students take charge. And from self-directed learning or self-directed learners, the students would ultimately become self-regulated. But what's the meaning of self-regulated? Students can be described as self-regulated to the degree that they are metacognitively. I will talk more about metacognitive shortly. They are metacognitively, motivationally, and behaviorally active participants in their own learning process. Not passive participant, but active participant. I have example to show the difference between passive learner and active learner. But basically, active learner, they are metacognitively motivational. Metacognitive is always mean that the learner or the person always think about their own learning. They metacognitive in a simple way, thinking about thinking. Always think about whatever that they do, whatever that they read. When they read any book or any article, they don't just read. They read with deep thinking. They read between the lines. The what's they don't take whatever they read at face value. They don't just simply agree. They will criticize. They will always think the other side of the meaning of the story. They they always kind of disagree. They try to think on the flip side of the concept, the flip side of the story. So they are very critical, in other words, and they are very highly motivated, and this is reflected in their behavior. Okay, and when we have students that is self-directed and self-regulated, when we talk about student engagement in the classroom, engagement, the cognitive engagement, behavioral engagement, emotional engagement. So we can see every educators, every teacher, lecturers, we dream to have a class where everyone is engaged, everyone would participate, everyone very excited to to do the learning activities that we have designed for them. So we want students to highly engage here. Okay, but to have students to be highly engaged, then we need to have students who are self-directed and self-regulated learner. These are the type of students who not only they just participate. We have to be careful. Sometimes when we look at students are kind of active, doing things and moving around, talking to each other, so we say that students are active. So it is active learning. But active learning is beyond that. Not just students are active, doing things, busy, but at the end of the class, they have fun and so on, but they don't really learn. The learning outcome probably not fully achieved. So participating means they're just doing work. They pay attention, they're responding to questions, but it's very kind of shallow. But we want them to go deeper. We want them to go deeper, just like the peeling the onion, it's just the first layer. What we want the students, when they have these characteristics of self-directed and self-regulated, they would invest energy, invest time, invest effort. They will go the extra mile, the extra length. They would proactively asking questions, and not just simple questions. The question is always very critical, very thought-provoking. And sometimes the lecturer or the teacher would have hard time to answer. This is what we want. The student-centered, student self-directed learners, they value their learning. They don't just learn simply because they have exam next week, they have test next week. They want to get A+. No, they always think beyond the grade. They appreciate the value of learning. They really into the course, really into the topic, because they really have the curiosity. They have the interest to learn about the topic. And self-regulated learner go the next level. They are in the driver's seat. They take charge of their own learning now. Okay, self-directed, self-regulated, is very closely related. But these are the type of students that will set their own goal. They know, okay, at the end of this class, what I want to learn, regardless whether the lecturer just doing enough, just doing barely enough. They set their own goal, they seek feedback, immediate feedback, they do self-assessment. So if we have this self-directed, self-regulated learners in our class, that's a dream that, for everyone, for every lecturers, for every teachers. But we actually can do our part to help our students to become self-directed and self-regulated. All right, so what are the benefits of become self-directed learners for our students? Learning can be personalized. Okay, students can tailor their learning to their specific needs and interests, creating a more engaging educational experience because they know what they want. They know what they are good at. They know what they are their weaknesses. So they would kind of customize and personalize the way they learn, the way they study, the way they prepare for the class, the way they, after the class, what they will do before the class, during the class. They know exactly what they need to do in order for them to learn. So they can personalize their own learning. And we, as the course designer, as the lecturer or the teacher, can also design our class in such a way that uh, we can kind of differentiate. So this is what we call differentiated instruction, differentiated learning, and this is where we personalize. How do we do that? So I have some slides later on. How can we design our course to make it more personalized to the tailor to the different needs, different pace of our students? In order to do that, we need to know more about our students. We need to have more intimate kind of interaction with the students. Ownership of learning. This is basically what self-directed learning is about. Empower students to take control of their own educational journey, promoting autonomy and independence. So we can tell the students, look, folks, this 4 years, basically, this is your own journey. I want you to learn as much as you can, but remember, whatever that you learn during these 4 years, just the tips of the iceberg. There's so much more there. You you can't possibly learn everything. I can't possibly teach you everything during these 4 years. Only the tip of the iceberg, only the essence, only the core based on the program outcome. But if you want to explore the submerged part of the iceberg, you need to become self-directed learner. You need to master the skill of learn how to learn. You need to take charge of your own learning. You need to develop these characteristics, these traits, proactive, independent, and so on, as self-directed learner. If you have this and you go out, you will basically can fit anywhere. Okay, you'll become adaptable, flexible, agile. So no matter where you go, you will not only survive, but you will thrive. Yeah, you will thrive. You will flourish. So use this kind of words to tell our students, to convince them, to persuade them, so that they will help themselves and together with us helping them to develop these characteristics. The way we communicate the message is very important. Yeah, adaptability encourages flexibility and a growth mindset. The not yet mentality, Oh, I'm not good at this yet. Oh, I'm not, I don't have that skill yet. The not yet mentality, the growth mindset. It is important for us, for students, for everyone. Encourage flexibility and a growth mindset, preparing students to navigate an ever-changing world. And of course, ultimately, lifelong learning habits fosters the development of skills and habits that support ongoing learning throughout life beyond the traditional educational setting. So now, basically, this is the part, if you can pay attention more here, because this, how do we know, or what kind of characteristic just now we want to expand on this, and what are the indicators that our students now have acquired from their behavior. We can see from their behavior, from the how they interact, how they do the activities, how they work together collaboratively, whether they kind of isolate themselves, or whether they are the active participants in their learning activity, or they invest their energy more beyond what we ask them to do. These are the indicators of self-directed learners. Okay, first, planning and goal setting. Self-directed learners, they are proactive. Remember our word cloud? I'm glad that we have those words. They are self-motivated. They are good in managing their time. So proactive, they take the initiative to identify their learning needs and set specific achievable goals. For every class, for every course, in every semester, they have goals for the day, they have goals for the week, they have goals for the month, they have goal for the whole semester, they have goal for the 4 years. Proactive. Self-motivated. This is where the intrinsic motivation. Yesterday I shared these words on my Facebook. Intrinsic motivation. Basically the self-motivation from inside. Intrinsic motivation basically would unlock our potential, everyone's potential. So extrinsic motivation, on the other hand, is not sustainable. Because when you put the carrots, then you will be motivated. Incentive, external rewards, like promotion. That's an example. Okay. I know this is controversial. Yeah, but that is actually extrinsic motivation. Salary raise, awards. Those are extrinsic motivation, external rewards. If the rewards are not there, or the rewards are small, then probably, you're not going to try, because it's not really very strong kind of carrots. So to me, extrinsic motivation is not sustainable. What we want is intrinsic motivation. When we have intrinsic motivation, everything we do is driven by our passion, driven by our interest, driven by our desire to achieve not only the best, but achieve beyond the best. Time management. So self-motivated, they demonstrate a strong internal drive to learn and achieve their goals. Time management. They effectively manage their time to complete learning tasks and meet deadlines. That's planning and goal setting. Learning strategies. Let's look at learning strategies now. They are resourceful. Yeah, good. Remember in our word cloud, we capture that keyword, resourceful. Actually, everyone need to train we need to train ourselves to be resourceful. Okay. They actively seek out and evaluate different learning resources, textbooks, online materials, expert. These are the kind of student when they do the students that come to us. Oh, can the books that you recommend, the textbook that you recommend is not there, or it's not available. For sometimes very trivial, small things, they will come to us. But resourceful students, only after they have exhausted all the effort and so on, after they have tried everything, then only they will come to us. Last resort. Okay, but some students who are not resourceful, they just want everything easy. They want a lot of things to be served on the plate for them. We don't want this. We want our student. We want to train our student, to educate our student to be resourceful. Because the reality of the real world, when they go out, you don't have everything available on your fingertips, or we sometimes have to work in the limited, constrained environment, less resources. So how do we manage that? How do we deal? Independent learning. They can learn effectively on their own without constant guidance. Adaptable. They adjust their learning strategies based on their progress and feedback. Critical thinking and reflection. They always ask questions, and not only simple questions, always very critical, thought-provoking, deep, thoughtful questions. They ask thoughtful questions, seeking deeper understanding of the material. They want to go the layer by layer. I in my almost 30 years experience, I had a few students like this. Yeah, always ask very critical questions. They will come with their notes and all the side notes, and they will sit down and they will ask, okay, I have 5 questions. Okay, question number 1, number 2. It can be quite tiring, but yeah, actually we want this kind of students. Problem solving, they approach challenges with a critical and analytical mindset. Self-reflection, they always do self-reflection. They regularly evaluate their learning progress and identify areas for improvement. Even before the class ends, in their head, they keep thinking, okay, these are the questions I want to ask, after the class or during the class. So they can't wait to ask the question. They always have questions in their mind. They always reflect, okay, what have I learned today? What have I learned this week? What have I learned this month? What are the points or the things or the areas that I need to read more? I need to learn more. I need to see the lectures to get more understanding, more explanation. So self-reflection. Communication and collaboration. They always take their own initiative. They always start the initiative. They take the lead in discussions and actively participate in group activities. They are not passive learner. They always take charge. They always want to be part of the discussion. They want to be kind of part of the community. And collaboration, they effectively work with others to learn and share knowledge. Communication skill, they can clearly articulate their ideas and learning needs. And finally, last but not least, overall engagement. Intrinsic motivation, they display a genuine interest and curiosity in learning topics. Persistence, they persevere through challenges and setback. And metacognition, here we introduce the term metacognition. They are aware of their own learning process. Metacognition is what? Thinking about my learning, thinking about my thinking about the process that I'm going through, and so on. And then regulate their own learning. So when they always think about what they are doing, if they are doing it right, if they are doing it wrong, if they are doing it more, if they are doing it less, and then they would kind of regulate accordingly. Okay, so on the motivation, I have a few slides. I'm not going to go through slide by slides because I'm going to share the slide with you. But basically, motivation is one of the key factors that we want to ensure that the students would, we will design our course in such a way that the students who now, with their intrinsic motivation, they will use that to become an, you know, a proactive learner, self-directed learner. Okay. Okay. So these are, I have deliberated indicators of self-directed learners, and basically expanded on the keywords from the word cloud just now. Um, and I hope by at this point in the session this morning, you've got a clear idea now. What is self-directed learning, self-directed learners, and what are the attributes, the traits, the characteristics of self-directed learners? And knowing this now, how do we design now? How do we design our lesson, our course? Yeah? So that will be next. We have about half an hour. Nurturing self-directed learning behaviors. This actually the deliberation. I have mentioned this quite adequately. So the next slide I will just run through very quickly. Metacognition and metacognitive. Yeah. Again, metacognition is thinking about their own thinking process. Thinking about their own learning process. Then they reflect, reviewing and evaluating their learning process, and then they self-regulate, managing and adjusting learning strategies. So understanding more about metacognition and learning. Metacognition involves thinking about one's own thinking and understanding. It plays a crucial role in guiding learning processes and self-regulation. Reflection on learning experiences is central to metacognitive development. So if we want to develop our learner to become independent learner, self-directed, self-regulated. So these are one of the characteristics. Being, metacognition, the concept of metacognition. Cognition is about, our thinking process. So when you are aware about your thinking process, the way you think, the way you process the concept, process the problems, decipher the problems, and so on. So you're always aware, and you try always fine tune or try to sharpen your skill. And this is how we can develop a so-called self-directed, become independent. I don't have to ask this. Sorry. Oh, itu ingatkan soalan tadi. I thought a question, so please itu apa ni? Unmute the microphone. Okay. How do we promote metacognition? I think I have mentioned also a little bit. We help students to develop a deeper understanding of their own thought processes, learning style, and knowledge gaps. Reflection, encourage regular reflection on their learning. So, for example, at the end of the class, the way I do it, I ask the students to summarize what they have learned in one tweet using Twitter. So I give them the hashtag, and they will tweet what they have learned. So we want them to think about what they have learned. We want them to think about what they have learned. So that's a reflection. Okay. Metacognitive strategies, teach students metacognitive strategies such as planning, monitoring, evaluating their own learning to become more self-directed, problem solving. So these are what are the activities that you can do actually to promote self-directed learning, including metacognition. I have another slide on this one, so I just go to next one. Little bit on this again on metacognitive. When the students, when we have students who understand about metacognitive learning, these are students who would always asking questions. For example, they ask, yeah, what am I seeking to learn or be able to do in this course, in this lesson, in this class? What have I learned at the end of the class, at the end of the course, at the end of the week? How can I take my learning to the next level? So even before the class ends, they always think about the next class. How will I make make personal meaning of this content? They always want to know more, deeper. If they learn about certain concept or principles, they want to relate to the real life. They want to see what kind of application. What do I currently know or think about the topic? Before they go to the class tomorrow, they go and find out and read more, use ChatGPT or whatever tools that they have to learn more. In fact, they want to know more about the topic and perhaps asking questions that the lecturer cannot answer. Perhaps they will be proud because the lecturer cannot answer and they can provide the answer. Okay, so we get the students that who are self-directed learner to always well prepared for the class. They don't come with blank mind. For metacognitive educator pula, yeah, they always ask this question: what are the most important aspects of this lesson that I want to make sure that the students would get it? What really matters? Okay, so they always apply the Pareto principle, the 80-20. Okay, what's the 20% that's really matter here? What might students encounter? So they always think about, okay, what would be kind of in this course that student would struggle. So they really have very high empathy. They empathize with the students. So they will spend more time to explain. They will give more activities for students to try. How can I link this content to the prior knowledge? Is this lesson going as I planned? And many more. These are the, we want teachers also to develop this metacognitive skill in their teaching strategies for students in their learning strategies. So there's a lot in this slide here that we need to understand. So just now I mentioned about passive student, active students. When we say passive or active in terms of the cognitive part, yeah. So we have example here, cognitively passive behavior, passive learning behaviors. So we have students like this. I preview the reading before class. Oh, good. I came to class. Okay. I read the assigned text. I highlighted the text. I rewrote my notes. I look up information. Hey, this is good, right? But this is actually, there's another level actually. We want the students to go to that another level. This is quite good already, cognitively passive. What if, what if how do we describe the active, cognitively active learning behaviors? Cognitive learning behavior. So I preview the reading before class. Ini passive. I drew my own flowchart and diagram. Wah, dia buat after the class atau after the class they summarize the whole thing in the form of diagram. Nowadays very easy to do with AI and so on. I wrote my own study questions. Study question. They wrote their own question. I tried to figure out the answer before looking it up. ChatGPT nowadays can give answers, but before he or she try to use ChatGPT, he or she, the student, will try to figure out the answer first, then check with ChatGPT. I tried to see connection and fit all the facts in a bigger picture. They will try to connect the dots. I ask myself, how does it work? Why does it work this way? I use Bloom taxonomy to write my own study question. Instead of lecturer write the question based on Bloom taxonomy, why not we teach students to write the questions based on Bloom taxonomy? Teach them. Probably they have never ordered or heard even about Bloom taxonomy. Teach them. about Bloom taxonomy. Teach them to write questions based on Bloom taxonomy so that they can revise, they can do the revision and so on. Write their own questions, answer their own questions. What do you think? Can you share your thoughts on this in the chat? Yeah. Okay, so fostering self-directed learning. The student role here. They are director of their own learning. Student-directed learner. Self-directed learner. Self-directed learning. Directed. So meaning that the student become the director of their own learning. They take charge. They direct. They drive. They are in the driver's seat. They are detective of their own thinking, metacognitive just now. They become detective their own thinking. Okay, collaborator with peers and teachers, pattern seeker through diverse ideas and experiences. So this is their role, and how that translate into behavior, the behavior that we can observe. So this what it might look like, and we, as the teacher, as the educator, we should be sensitive, observant, look for this sign, for these indicators. Students co-constructing success criteria, their set goal, monitoring their thinking, self-questioning, self-regulating, and so on and so forth. And the teacher's role. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, okay. So I'm here. Okay,
Yeah.
I was actually very attracted to your past slides, that even this one also, regarding the role that the students play. Okay, the student role. That means that the first one, director, the students direct their own learning. Okay, so for certain classes, let's say sometimes I have classes with students up to like 60s or 70s, and then I have a few sections. So every students are different, so because I'm having the integrated design projects, and then they are working in a group. So when we want to apply this one, it's very, very hard for us to really identify each and every one when you have such a big group. And then how do we know that this person is actually leading and then the other person is not leading? And then when they are working in a group, it's very hard to really identify that. They are what they call that, as you mentioned there, look for symptoms like they call constructive. How are we going to do that?
Yeah, that's a really great questions, Dr. Chua. Yeah, ideally, theoretically, we should be very observant, and be able to observe the behavior and be able to tell which students are very active, which students are really invest in the activity, in the preparation, and that's we can see from the quality of the work, the quality of participation, the quality of the discussion, the quality of the questions they ask. So I think that's why we need the last part. I will share kind of the structured plan, and this actually happened throughout the semester. So probably we won't be able to really differentiate the students in the first part of the semester. It will take some time for us. If we do enough activities in the classroom, then probably we should be able to tell, if not all, but the majority of the student, we should be able to tell which one is really, active, invest their time, do quality work, and so on. But the other thing that we need to do, and we hardly do actually, when we do co-teaching, for the same course, I think most courses, from my experience at USM, most courses we do team teaching. So we have 2 or 3 lecturers, at least 2 lecturers sharing the same course. So if we always sit down with our partner who teach the same course, then we kind of consolidate our observation. Because two pairs of eyes probably better than one, right? Then we can kind of consolidate. Can what do you think? What do you think of this student? What do you think of this student? You know, when you do your activity and so on. So this is where we actually kind of compare notes, so to speak, compare notes, and then we can identify, and then we can do a proper kind of timely intervention. The other thing is other courses for that semester that other lecturers teach. We hardly sit down with other lecturers teaching other courses for the same batch of students, for the same group of students, and
That
then
is very true.
compare notes. We hardly do that. So I think we need to find ways and mechanism when we have discussion among our program lecturers, how we can do this more systematically, more often, so that now we can really implement a so-called differentiated instruction, personalized learning, and self-directed learning concept and so on, so that we are not doing this alone, but we are doing this collectively. It has to be in a collective manner. And of course, it's not easy, Dr. Chua. Of course, I think from experience can tell, and from my experience can say, all this looks very nice and so on. But they say, oh, susah lah kalau you have 100 students. And betul. Tapi itulah, everyone need to, we put together lah our effort kan. This is part of the investment that we want to give the best sort of learning experience for our students and really nurture them to become the so-called, the kind of graduate would have that qualities. So thank you, Dr. Chua. I know there's no definite answer to that, but it all requires a lot of effort. The investment actually come from us and as well from students. But I think if we explain to the students the meaning of self-directed learners and self-directed learning and why it is so important for them to develop this, and not only we do this alone, our other lecturers also do the same, keep reminding them, keep helping them. Yeah, I'm sure we can do this collectively. Yeah. Okay. So since time is running out, the rest of the slide is basically what can we do to develop, to nurture the traits, the characteristics of becoming self-directed learners, fostering a growth mindset. Okay, so these are some of the explanation. Motivation. Wow, I have a couple of slides here, several slides here, but this alone, motivation, is a big topic on its own. Yeah, but to me, it's such an important thing that we have to learn the psychology of learning. Read more about educational psychology part of learning. Yeah, motivation is such important because it's a prerequisite for engagement, and engagement is prerequisite for learning. So if there's no motivation, or we are not able to motivate the students, or not able to get them to have this intrinsic motivation, all we do is the extrinsic part. We just give them incentive, we give them rewards. I do that as well, but it's not sustainable. I give T-shirt for my student after they have performed certain activity. One T-shirt cost me 40 ringgit. I used to do that, but it's not sustainable. It incur cost. So what we want is the intrinsic motivation. And I have a few slides here. Motivation. So I leave you with all these slides to read. Yeah, but the bottom line is we want to cultivate the intrinsic motivation, the internal drive, the internal desire, fostering a sense of purpose and passion from within. This is applicable also for us educators. If we want to thrive in the academia, not survive. I keep reiterating this point. You don't want just to survive. Surviving is very stressful. What we want is to thrive, flourish. So in order to do that, we want to find that intrinsic motivation, because that what sustain us. That's what sustain our motivation, effort. We will invest. We will invest more. We will do more beyond the best. We will go beyond the best. No more saying that, okay, I will do the best. No more, I will try, but I will do. You know, Yoda, the Star Wars character, Yoda, do not, try not. Yeah, dia kata try not, do. There is no try, do. So in order to have that kind of mindset, I'll do that. Or the not yet mindset, oh, I'm not good at this using technology and so on yet, but I will learn. So this is an internal desire, internal autonomy and mastery, encouraging the pursuit of personal growth and expertise. We take charge. We take charge. I empowered myself. I empower you and you empower yourself. Meaningful feedback, providing constructive input to sustain motivation and improvement. So that when we do this, we build resilience. Just like this flower in the middle of the dry desert, the plant, the seed can germinate, grow, and the flower will bloom in harsh environment of the desert and thrive. This plant is thriving because the flower is blooming. Can you imagine? This is what perhaps, on the first day of the semester, show this picture to our students. Guys, folks, you want to be like this flower. You want to be like this plant. You want to be able to grow, and only grow, you thrive. You bloom, even in the harshest environment. Very strong message that we can send to our student. So how are you going to do this? Worry not, fret not. I'm going to help you. I'm here to help you, provided you want to help yourself. So this is what it takes. Self-directed learning. These are the characteristics that you want to build inside you. You want to develop. And I'm going to help you. That kind of message, strong message that we want to send to our students. So personalized learning this is where we want to pay attention to the different way students learn, different strength, different pace. So in order for them to become self-directed, we want to develop the skill to the extent that, because they know what they want to learn, they know what they have yet to learn, their weaknesses and so on. So we want them to be able to personalize their learning based on their way of learning, style, time, constraint, and so on. So this about personalized learning, but I'm not going to dwell much on this because I think there's a lot of discussion already, presentation, sharing about personalized learning. But I have a few slides here that you want to probably can help you to understand more about personalized learning and how you can enable that. Yeah, one of the things that we have now on our learning management system, LMS, is the access to data, learning analytics. So this learning analytics can help us to give information about how the students are performing. And that can help us to kind of personalize learning to our own student. We can see who is moving very fast, who is kind of living left behind. Based on the data analytics, we can help them. We can do a timely intervention here. Okay, so that's learning analytic. The concept of analytics learning, adaptive learning, the tools like, when we give a quiz using Socratic here, Socrative application here. So when we give them the quiz before the class, for example, we can see who are performing well, who are not performing, who have problems, who have misconception. So when they come to the class, we know we can tailor, we can kind of tailor our 1 hour class now to take care areas where students are struggling and so on. So this is also part of the personalized learning, analytics. Okay. So finally, empowering teachers to support self-directed learning. I think I've explained to some extent just now. Encourage autonomy, facilitating goal setting, embracing flexibility, nurturing collaboration, and so on. So finally, I have given example of structured plan to implement self-directed learning in the classroom. So this is our last learning outcome for this session this morning. Number 4, learning outcome number 4. So this is an example of a 12-week action plan. So when you get access to this presentation, you can click this link and it will open this. Okay. Action plan implementing self-directed learning in your classroom. This is an example of a 12-week action plan that provides a structured approach to gradually introducing and expanding self-directed learning practices in your classroom. The specific time frame for each step may vary depending on the complexity of the chosen activities and the needs of your students. So these are only example, yeah. By focusing on student skill development, providing opportunities for choice, continuously reflecting on the impact of these practices, we aim to empower our students to become more independent and effective learners. So week 1, these are some of the activities. Week 2, so week 1 is self-assessment. Oops. Week 2, skill development activities. So some example of the activities. Week 3, pilot activity, select a topic that you can choose. Implementation, reflection, week 8 to 10, revision and expansion. So just go through this to give you some ideas how you can structure your lessons to incorporate activities that would inculcate those self-directed learning activities, student-centered, basically student-centered learning activities. Okay. So and when I talk about the lesson, the learning activities during the 12 weeks or 14 weeks, these are some example that actually these are some example of learning activities that would allow students to develop, to nurture, develop their self-directed learning characteristics. Yeah. Project-based, problem-based, flipped classroom, scenario-based. Especially I like this scenario-based learning. I have given one 3-hour actually session for USM recently. You can find the recording here in the link here. Scenario-based learning. I'm going to give a second one next week or week after next week on the part 2 on scenario-based learning because it is quite long. How to build the scenario and so on. So jigsaw activity, digital storytelling. So these are only some example of student-centered learning example, as well as by doing this, we can inculcate the self-directed learning characteristics. So the rest basically, okay, conclusion. We want to empower students to become lifelong learners. By instilling the principle of self-directed learning, we empower students to become active, engaged, and lifelong learners. Through cultivating a growth mindset, developing effective strategies, and promoting metacognition, students gain autonomy and tools to continue learning and growing long after their formal education is complete. So these are some of the key takeaways. Self-directed learning importance, empowers students to manage their own learning, enhancing lifelong learning habits. Key benefits includes personalized learning experiences, ownership of education, adaptability and fostering lifelong learning habits. Learner skill emphasizes planning, time management, resourcefulness, independence, critical thinking, and effective communication. Strategy, promote metacognition, promote growth mindset, intrinsic motivation, resilience, and the use of technology. Implementation involves integrating project-based, problem-based, flipped classroom, scenario-based, and so on. Cooperative learning, collaborative learning, yeah. Cooperative learning like jigsaw. Teacher support, guides on empowering student autonomy, goal setting and using diverse learning activities. Challenges, address potential obstacles like time constraint, motivational issues, goal setting difficulties, and resistance to change. Okay, so that's basically it. So now maybe we can, let me share first before I forget, the link. The link to this presentation. So I will share in the chat now. And Prem or anyone, Kafel, can you please copy the link in the chat to our friends on Facebook so that they can have access to the whole presentation. Meanwhile, let's open this to Q&A. Anyone like to share your thoughts or you want to ask questions, anything? Let's take like 5 or 6 minutes while I'm okay, ada apa-apa soalan atau pandangan, komen?
Okay, Prof, I have one very interesting questions for you if you don't mind asking. This is my personal okay. So whenever we do changes, whenever we try to do changes in our teaching and learning practices, as you mentioned, students, some of the times, I won't say all the time, some of the times they are not acceptable to the changes. And then suddenly I find that our students are very, very accustomed to like spoon feeding type of teaching and learning. They want everything fed up to feed them. And then now suddenly they become self-directed. And then we try to, let's say, after ask them to do student center, and then, so why are you doing this one? Why are you doing that one? Why are you asking us to do this? Why are you asking us to do that? And then in the end, it bites back on us in our student evaluation. It goes very poor. So when we try to do something, of course, maybe the first few batches will have very bad or negative impact on us, which I gone through, and then I have no choice but to stop it because it really impacted on my student feedback. So how to overcome this, or what is the next step we should do? Because I really want to do different with my students, but then every time when I try this method, a few semesters down the line, the feedback from the students is so negative until okay, I need to try another one, and then it's same thing. How?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Chua. I think I can resonate I can resonate with that very well. Another great question from you. Again, there's no easy or definite answer that I can give because this is actually FAQ, FAQ, a common issue, one of the common issues that everyone is facing. And you see, most students that come, I'm actually talking about in the context of USM. For example, we in the past like 15 years at least, I would say, we get all the top cream students lah. For my program, actually, sometimes we get 4 flat, CGPA 4 flat that come to our program, 3.5 and above majority in terms of CGPA. So in terms of academic qualification, they are all good, majority. But that doesn't mean in terms of learning attitude, which basically we describe as student as a self-directed learners just now, proactive, independent, and so on. We'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. Maybe not so much surprised already. They are only a small number. It's a glintail. A small number have at least some of those or demonstrate some of those self-directed learners characteristics. So the big question is why? They have spent like more than what? Berapa tahun? In school, right? 16 years, what? 12 years in the K-12 plus a few years before they come to university. So the tendency, we say that the student come to the university, they don't have this kind of characteristics to become independent learners. They still expect spoon feeding. They still expect a lot of hand holding by the lecturers. They expect everything is served to them on the plate, right? On the silver platter, so to speak. So how do we deal with these issues? There's no easy solution. There's no silver bullet for this one. The least we can do is, but we cannot do this alone, Dr. Chua. I think everyone. That's why we need this session. We need session like this to give awareness to everyone, the lecturers, the academic. Understand about the concept of self-directed learners so that now everyone can play their role. I would say the first day of the semester, the first class of the semester, and then find time anywhere in between we can sleep so that we can give this awareness to the students, give them the understanding, just like I mentioned earlier, the kind of words, the kind of aspiration we want them to be. Tell them the reality of being a university student, adult learners. We want them to be like this. So we have to educate, this part of education, not just to educate them the content of the program, but educate them the skill to learn how to learn, the skill to be a super learner, so to speak, to be a lifelong learner. So how to do that? So there is where the structured plan just now and understanding of, how do you motivate the student, how you nurture the intrinsic motivation in the student and so on. But we cannot do it alone. One person cannot, one lecturer cannot do it. Everyone have to be together. We have to do this together, collectively. And I have confidence that if we do this collectively, at least majority of the students would acquire at least some of those characteristics of self-directed learners. Kita kena terus usaha supaya kita bagi education kepada our student on this becoming the self-directed learners, Dr. Chua. Yeah. So I've given example of the kind of structured plan. Okay. Macam apa aktiviti kita nak buat. Then kita buat observation. The peer observation as well. Peer observation I mean among the lecturers teaching the program. Kita kena ada ruang untuk kita consolidate punya observation tu. Bila sebenarnya, let me ask you all, when actually we really talk about our students seriously among our group? Hardly kan? Hardly. So kita kena cari jalan ni. Okay. Dr. Chua, that much I can say lah, Dr. Chua.
Thank you so much, Prof.
Okay. Ada lagi? Ada lagi? I would love to hear. Maybe I check the chat lah. Kau ada soalan dalam chat tu? Ada ke, Dr. Chua? Dalam chat. There's the chat. Okay. Okay. I don't see the chat also not very active. I think we need more active participants lah. I would encourage when we attend online session like this. If I attend any webinar, I always become active participant. So among other things that I do, I'll try to capture the key points and then I will share in the chat. And sometimes when the speaker talk about something interesting, so I'll try to find the relevant resources and then I will share in the chat. So by doing that, actually, I force myself to become active listener, active participant. I focus on the session because I really want to learn something. Otherwise, I would perhaps I would rather not to attend rather than doing multitasking. So that's me lah. That's me. That's how I do it. So it actually give the time that I invest 2 hours really meaningful to me. I don't have to hear to the recording or whatnot because I have learned. I have consciously learned and be active participants. And hopefully by doing that also, I would benefit other participants as well because I have shared the key point and so on. If you have attended any webinar where I'm one of the participants, you will see that. Yeah. All right. Okay. So
Prof,
yeah.
there is a comment from Miss Regina Woon in Facebook. Okay, I have implemented SDL approach to my students.
Okay.
I found the condition of time and environment is very crucial. It takes time to see changes. So, yeah, maybe you can answer.
Yeah, that's perhaps just the thoughts, the comment. And I agree. It takes time. It takes time, and it takes a lot of effort on our part. We need a lot of patience actually. Kalau kita, if we do it and we feel that we fail to achieve the intended outcome, don't despair lah, don't give up lah ya. That's why kalau kita buat sendiri, kita saja yang buat. Only 1 or 2 lecturers really do it, into it. Perhaps it will take longer time and perhaps it's not widespread, meaning that if you have 200 students in that particular batch, perhaps only half of them, half is considered good already, but perhaps like 20%, 30%. But imagine, I would imagine if everyone, every lecturers, every teachers do their share, do their part, everyone understand what it takes to nurture to develop self-directed learning attributes. Everyone will do it in their course. Collectively, I'm sure the impact would be greater, would be more profound, although it will still take time. So jangan putus asa lah, ya. Don't give up, because good things take time to see the results. Yang penting, what is important now, hopefully this session this morning give you an awareness and also a clearer understanding of what self-directed learning means and how it relates to student-centered learning environment, and what can we do as part of our course design, lesson design, and so on. What can we do in terms of designing the learning activities, in terms of the assessment, in terms of the approach and strategies. Okay, so all right, ada lagi prep from the
Yes, other Prof, one more.
One more.
One more from the same person, yeah, Miss Regina Woon. So, Prof, do you think the SDL skill is generic or domain specific?
I think it's more like a generic across those same characteristics. We want every learner, every students to have it. So that's a generic skill which they can use in everything, anything. Yeah. Because just think about intrinsic motivation. So if they have intrinsic motivation, they will do something with, they become proactive, because they have everything that they do now is driven by their own passion, because they have that intrinsic motivation. So anything that they do, they will do it well. They do it excellently. They do it with the highest quality. So I think it's more generic rather than specific. Yeah. All right. So if there no more apa, I dah bagi link tadi. So I hope feel free to share the presentation and with your colleagues. And I would like to thank Rafael for the opportunity to share this topic. I would like to thank everyone who have given your precious time. I hope I have given value for your precious time, and I hope you can take these takeaways and think about it, reflect on it, and start to read more, of course, explore more, and then start to design your course and incorporate the elements of student-centered learning and self-directed learning, hoping that together, we do it together with our colleagues, hoping that the students, when they go out, they will have all these characteristics and they will be future proof, future ready for everything that come our way in the future. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Have a nice day. I pass over to Dr. Prem to wrap up the session.
All right, thank you very much, Prof, for sharing your knowledge and experiences with us in helping our students to become a self-directed learner or independent learner. And to others, thank you for attending, participating this valuable webinar. We hope you have learned and enjoyed this presentation by Prof. Dr. Karim. So please, before you leave, please click the link that I shared with you, okay, for attendance and also for evaluation. So with that, we end the session for today. Thank you so much to everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, Prof.
Bye.